City of Joburg Spatial Development Framework. The Spatial Development Framework is a city-level spatial document developed by the City of Johannesburg along with private, public entities, as well as the UN Habitat's Urban Design Lab, the AYA Urban Design Studio, and the Morphology and Complex Systems Institute. It covers the entire municipality and identifies the main challenges. The very first SDF was developed in 2001. The most recent document approved is the 2010 version. This is seen as an evolving document building on the strengths and addressing previous limitations of the previous iterations. It is a component of the Integrated Development Plan for municipalities, mandated by spatial planning and land use management, even though it is part of the Integrated Management Plan. The document focuses on policies and implementation mechanisms intended for metropolitan district and local municipalities. Requirements may differ for each of these types of municipalities. The formulation process consists of multiple phases. Each phase generates output that is used to inform the phase afterwards. In phase 1, a project plan and an inception report is produced from formulating requirements and spatial principles. In phase 2, the project plan is used to notify key shareholders who in turn develop a spatial vision. In phase 3, a synthesis of findings is produced from the project plan and spatial vision, which gives an overall look at what is happening in the present. Phase 4's output is an implementation plan which uses the conceptual frameworks and project plans to provide a means to monitor progress throughout the duration of the project. Once this has been completed, a draft plan goes out to various municipal shareholders, including members of the public as well as the council. In phase 6, the draft SDP receives input from the shareholders. Comments are made for the document's improvements, which can alter phase 4's implementation framework. Phase 7 consists of monitoring and evaluating using the implementation plan as a base, which will be upgraded and revised over time. The project aims to provide an accessible, strong urban core capable of generating opportunities for all. This also includes corridors of freedom, opening up Soweto as a district city, and unlocking the mining belt. In order to achieve a spatial economy, nodes of organized zones that permit growth, investment, and consolidation need to be established, which also means establishing a priority economic zone. Also, in order to bring together discontinuous areas and reinforce the urban development boundary between low-cost housing and informal settlements, a consolidation zone will have to be established. A number of scenarios were tested for the transformation of the city. The compact polycentric urban model works best because it brings jobs to residential areas, housing opportunities to job centers rather than merely relying on transport between the two. It also creates walkable nodes where people can live, work, play efficiently, connected by public transport, and it bridges the spatial and social barriers and builds a framework of spatiality. Key challenges. Spatial inequality from the past remains mostly intact. Housing is located far away from economic opportunities, and the private sector emphasis on car-orientated developments further reinforce segregation. There's a poor diversity in land use in the existing spatial structure. The polycentric urban form addresses these challenges by integrating discontinuous areas such as Modderfontein and the mining belt. In its current form, the inner city is still the prime economic node. This is made possible by being secured by economic corridors. There are nodes of concentrated development within the core. Spatial and economic barriers along the southwest with poor connectivity to the rest of the urban areas. On the ground, some key features have been developed in order to bring the idea of a polycentric urban form together. To enhance pedestrian movement, walkable nodes need to be created where people can live, work, and play, which would mean shortening the distances between amenities. Buildings should face streets as well as be located on the edge of the street, thus allowing pedestrian paths to flow continuously from property to property, as well as providing passive security benefits and spatial legibility. In order to reduce distances, mixed-use zoning can be implemented, which entails densifying existing and new buildings with a variety of uses on the same stands. There should be an order to this. Ground floor should be retail and public, and first floor offices and top floors should be residential. Open spaces in between buildings should be landscaped. Placing parking behind buildings allows street frontage, extra public space. Parking should not interfere or obstruct pedestrian movement. The built environment needs to respond to the human scale. There should be an emphasis on a more tactile experience in the city, building in close proximities to one another, as well as ground floor activations. The city should facilitate for pedestrian access. Wide sidewalks, as well as vehicular speed reduction mechanisms, can ensure safer pedestrian movement. Dedicated lanes for various types of movement, lighting, landscaping, and street furniture may help to facilitate the pedestrian experience. To encourage well-developed transport systems, high densities of people are required. Thus, high-density areas also have the effect of creating a more compact city in response. Public open spaces need to be responsive. This is achieved by multi-purpose community facilities, social and economic integration through encouraging mixed activities, as well as providing informal trading facilities and civic services.